Are you gay? Do you watch gay movies?
Bravo! Puppet Oscars for everyone!
You don't? Then why are you upset when gay movies don't show up in the theater? This is something I feel like a number of people I know are just sort of coming to all of a sudden of, oh, we don't support queer media. We love queer characters in mainstream media, but when queer media comes along, we don't show up for it. And, or when it does appear, we are very, very tough on it to the point where we don't get another opportunity for a long time. I am now in the mode of saying to people, show up in the theater for queer films. Show up. Even if you don't like it, at least see it, and don't tell people not to go see it. Now, some people really take issue with that because they're like, well, if the movie's bad, the movie's bad. I'm not saying you have to lie and say you love things. That's not my point here. But I'd like to look at a few movies from recent memory and kind of judge how people not supporting them kind of proved problematic for us as a community. I want us to have more chances. I want us to have more shots. And frankly, sometimes I think my main thesis here is we as queer people consider ourselves tastemakers, especially when it comes to art. But then we end up holding our own art to such an incredibly high standard that nothing can reach it, that it's not seen as being for all people, all queer people in particular. And then we sort of are so destructive towards it that then it fails and then we don't get another chance for a long time. So let's examine a few different examples here of Bros, and then Stop That Train, and then current horror movie Leviticus, and see how the audience, from what I perceive, seems to have reacted, how that affected its performance, and how going forward maybe we can adjust our approach so there's more stuff out there. Okay, so let's start with Bros. I will start by saying I didn't love Bros. I can admit that freely. However, I did go and see it in the movies, sat through the whole thing. I laughed at the good parts. I waited through the parts where I didn't like it as much. And then I told people to go see it. A few things went wrong with Bros, in my estimation. First of all, Billy Eichner is not a romantic lead. He just isn't. He's not charming, he's not likable, and that's not what he built his brand on. He built his brand on Billy on the Street, on confronting people and yelling at strangers. So to then try to be like, let me completely pivot, there are people who can pull that off in this world, but it's really hard to go from, you know me, from being the opposite of this, let me be this now. So that was problem number one, was he was the face of it, and he just isn't likable as a lead in that way.
Hey, who us? Come on!
I do feel that the movie, you know, for a comedy from Universal, wasn't always trying to clue in people who maybe weren't understanding of terms or concepts. Like, even I, as a queer person, like, I got it, but I remember thinking a number of times, ooh, if I were like a straight person trying to support this movie, I don't know that I would be confused a lot. And, you know, there's an argument for you need to just show people living well and people can catch up. But on to the main point here, which is the queer community. People savaged this movie. Look, I know, again, I didn't love it. I wanted to walk out after 45 minutes because I thought Billy was being so annoying. His behavior in public, like basically calling people homophobic for not seeing it, was not ideal. At the same time, I feel like it was very momentous that this movie existed, and the number of people who didn't show up for it and then were flagellating it in public bummed me out, because I saw the tea leaves of this is going to end badly for us all and that we won't get another opportunity like this. And sure enough, when has there been a big comedy with a queer lead in that way? Okay, so let's jump ahead to now Stop That Train. So again, I understand the reactions. I hope everybody's hearing in what I'm saying. I understand why people get frustrated with these movies. So Stop That Train, as I mentioned in a previous video, has people in it like Brian Jordan Alvarez who are very controversial. Read the Vulture article. Essay is the takeaway, and didn't need to be in it. And then the AI saying, we didn't use AI. Oh, it was only background processes, walking that back and forth. And, you know, you have people doing deep dives on whether they actually used it or not. It looked it to me. Some people are like, no, it just looked cheap. But even still, there was this influencer whose videos I saw who said, like, it is so rare for a queer Black drag queen lead to lead a movie. I know RuPaul may be doing well, and people are like, well, RuPaul is doing great now. But even still, what RuPaul represents so many types of people who don't get a shot. And I saw the movie. I thought it was funny. It didn't hit quite as often as, like, say, an Airplane or a Naked Gun, but I did like it. And then other people are just like, it wasn't funny. I wouldn't go see it. And are being tough on it and telling people not to see it. And, like, again, I know some people don't like when I say this, but I just don't believe in aiming your fury publicly towards queer media. If we got queer movies all the time, I wouldn't feel that way. But when you are in a minority and you don't get a lot of chances, when there's one failure, it's hard to get another chance. I mean, even look like something like Crazy Rich Asians, which very much performed at the box office, hugely. And then the screenwriter asked for a reasonable salary bump, didn't get it. And that movie's been stalled for 8 years now. So even success sometimes isn't good enough to get you the sequel. So when, I see Stop That Train, like, opening weekend 3 million, budget 30 million, I'm worried for it, and I'm worried about what it means going forward. Okay, so that brings us to the most current movie on this list, Leviticus. So Leviticus is a queer horror movie out of Australia, sponsored by the Australian government, about two guys who, minor spoilers ahead, are cursed with this It Follows-esque demon that follows them. And the demon looks like each other. So basically their love interest now is attacking them at random points. So it's a very interesting concept. And I admit when I saw the trailer, I thought it was going to be, another minor spoiler, a much unhappier story than it ends up being. It's trying to be, like, positive and romantic and strong, while there's a lot of drama and destruction, of course. And, I'm seeing sort of the same pattern play out again of people being like, well, I don't like horror. And to that I say, I normally completely understand that complaint, but in this case, I don't think it's all that scary. I don't think it's all that gory. And it's a queer project in theaters. Please support it. Normally when it comes to queer horror, that's the sort of thing you see at film festivals and not publicly. And sure, horror movies are inherently queer. They have that queer sensibility to them. I'm not going to pretend they don't. But even still, I think this is uncommon. And the fact that it came from Australia and is playing in American theaters is cool. I bet a lot of people behind the movie didn't expect that would happen. So I'm seeing people being a little wishy-washy, but like, I don't know, it's horror. Oh, I don't know, it seems duplicative. I don't know. And I guess I just want to say again, like, please support it. I'm begging you. I know some people, again, are going to see this video and be like, you're telling me to see things I don't want to see. But often what I pick up on is that people are so hypercritical in the queer community of our queer movies. And I don't hear you giving a fraction of that to mainstream movies. You are happy to watch very, very, very mediocre things. You all watched You for 5 seasons. So I think that's what rubs me the wrong way. It's not like this taste you have is universal. You are much harder on your own community's projects.
It's all about you, bitch. Boo!
And that is where I'm asking people to take a second look. So today we were talking about a few different projects over the years, queer projects that have had some mainstream visibility in Bros, Billy Eichner's comedy, Stop That Train, RuPaul's comedy, and now Leviticus, the queer horror movie. And what I am begging for from people who are watching this is to have an open mind about attending a movie that maybe you aren't 100% you're into because it has queer people behind it and uplifting them. And if you really, really can't stand the movie, maybe just playing that a little cool, not going on social media and completely savaging it. Like, here I am, I'm being transparent about, like, I'm not pretending I adored these movies. I think I liked Leviticus the best. I think it was a little close to It Follows, and I think there's been some really good horror lately, like Obsession I adored. So I liked it better than Backrooms, not as much as Obsession. And I think as queer people, we see ourselves as, like, having great cultural savvy, and so we always want to guide people in the right direction. But as a result, I think we are much harder on our own projects than we are on more mainstream projects. And I hear that from people a lot, saying, like, oh, well, there's still queer characters in, like, mainstream media. And yeah, but we deserve to, like, be behind the camera, be in front of the camera. And when we get that great fortune, when a gatekeeper sees us and is like, here, sure, I'll take a chance on, you know, an upstart like RuPaul who's fabulously successful right now. Just consider supporting.
That was so good.
Consider not coming down hard on it. Consider how universal is your level of criticism, or do you go a little harder on your own people? I think it's a very natural instinct. I understand the instinct. But when I look at the current political atmosphere, especially, I see how politically and culturally circular firing squads do a community no good at all. So support queer media, support queer media makers, and thank you for being queer and being you. I always appreciate that.